With a company like Nintendo, with their long history and vast library of content and properties, it's only natural to assume that others would try to get a slice of their success. We've already covered Mario and Pokemon ripoffs in the past, so today we're jumping the gun and diving into everything else offered by the company. These are 8 hilariously awful ripoffs of Nintendo products.
Why play Splatoon when you could play Runaway Graffiti or Sepia Go? Nintendo products have rarely, if ever, been sold officially in China, only recently coming to the country due to a joint venture of Nvidia, and being rebranded without the Nintendo name. But it's not like Nintendo games aren't popular over there, they're still played by hundreds of gamers, just not legally. This includes pirated copies, ROMs, and full-blown ripoffs. One of Nintendo's most recent successful releases has been Splatoon, a third-person shooter where you play as a half kid, half squid, and you cover your turf in your own ink, while driving back the other team. The game has been described as a colorful antithesis to the modern shooter, and managed to be popular on a barren system like the Wii U, which is insane on its own. Splatoon became a hit all over the world, and with any great hit comes a mobile clone from China. In 2016, a blatant ripoff of Splatoon called Runaway Graffiti was released, featuring identical gameplay, albeit much less intuitive, stolen models, music, and art. And as if to rub salt into the copyright-infringing wound, its trailer was quickly removed off of YouTube following a DMCA takedown notice from Nintendo. Unfortunately, 2 years later, another Chinese Splatoon mobile clone was released, this time being based around the fantastic Splatoon 2 for the Switch. This game, titled Sepia Go, is also clearly attempting to cash in on the Pokemon Go naming convention. I mean, seriously? Unlike Runaway Graffiti, original models and music were created for this game instead of just being straight up stolen. But that doesn't change the fact that they were clearly trying to emulate Splatoon as closely as possible. The developer actually intended to find a publisher, insultingly enough, to go worldwide, intending to release the game in other countries. But nothing has come of it so far. One has to assume that Nintendo took swift action here, just as they did with the previous Splatoon ripoff, and rightfully so.
Why play Super Mario when you can play Super POTUS Trump? Paper Mario meets Donald Trump. Great, amazing, incredible. An ambitious crossover one can only dream if you want to build a wall to stop immigrants coming into the Mushroom Kingdom. Now don't get me wrong, I like it, but why was this made? Is this a joke at Trump's expense? Or was it made to support him? Who knows? However, developer of the game Chris Emerson claims to be a die-hard Trump supporter, but anyone who has played the game see it as a game mocking him, trolling him, with his allegiance to Trump being satire. This isn't a simple Facebook ad where you punch Obama. This is an actual full game. I shit you not, it's got like 5 Paper Mario themed battles, with the first level being free and the rest of them you gotta pay for with real money. Much like Paper Mario, the battles are turn-based and feature, you guessed it, Donald Trump, where he's having all types of scraps, beating the shit out of his sworn enemies like fake news, Mexicans, Hillary Clinton, and fucking Iron Man for some reason. I find it strange that this is even allowed on Steam and the App Store, not to mention it costs money given its blatant rip-off status. Some may consider this game obnoxious for whatever political agenda it's trying to push, but me personally, I find this game fucking hilarious. I mean, you can earn coins to unlock different outfits for Trump, like hats, golf outfits, you get the picture. I heard, based on rumors, that there's a sequel in the works, but whether or not it's going to be based on Paper Mario or not is yet to be seen. But as it stands, this is truly one of the most bizarre combinations I've seen in recent history, and by God, is it beautiful.
Why play Fire Emblem when you can play Tear Ring Saga? What would you classify a ripoff that was made by the creator of the original as? It's not a common category, but that's exactly what happened with Fire Emblem and the series creator Shozu Kaga. In 2000, Kaga left Nintendo and Intelligent Systems to form his own company called Turnanog. Despite leaving the focus on entirely new games, he found himself making a very similar game to Fire Emblem in the form of Terra Ring Saga. Well, that's the final name of the game, but when it was first revealed, it was titled as Emblem Saga, and was to be released on PlayStation, a massive rival for Nintendo. The game was delayed until 2001 thanks to legal pressure from Nintendo, who were unhappy with the extremely similar name and gameplay, citing it as bringing false recognition and confusion to the public. The name was changed and any references, or stolen ideas as we like to call them, were removed a month from release. Despite the changes allowing the game to be released, Nintendo still sued the company and its publisher Enterbrain in the following months. After a second lawsuit, Nintendo actually won, receiving 73 million yen in the process. However, the game was allowed to remain on store shelves. It was seen as a massive success and garnered a large cult following, leading to a sequel being developed for the PlayStation 2 titled Terra Ring Saga Berwick Saga. But it was too drastically different to retain the same sales numbers, and ultimately led to the end of the company and the series. Despite the deceased status of the series, it was ushered into a new era of spiritual successor games, which are created by the original creators usually. It can be seen today with Mighty No. 9 being created by the creator of Mega Man, and Bloodstained Ritual of the Night being created by the director of Castlevania Symphony of the Night.
Why play The Legend of Zelda when you can play spiritual warfare? Throughout the NES era, multiple developers created unlicensed games for the system. One of the most frequent of these developers was Wisdom Tree, a Christian-themed game company. The company is notorious for releasing the only unlicensed game ever made for the Super Nintendo, with Super Noah's Ark 3D, which is a bizarre Wolfenstein clone taking place during the Noah's Ark story. Before that though, they created their own ripoff of the original Legend of Zelda, in the form of Spiritual Warfare. The game plays in the top-down format that was made famous by the original Legend of Zelda. At the beginning of the game, you even enter a room that's almost identical to the It's Dangerous to Go Alone room, with the same purpose of gaining an item to defend yourself, which is a piece of fruit for some reason. You'd think that a Christian game with like worship themes playing in the background would be rather tame, but nope, the game really owns up to the warfare part of its name. Satan sends his demons to Earth in order to spread his influence, and eventually you head straight to hell and fight Satan himself. People seem to actually like this game unironically, given the over-the-top nature and surprisingly good gameplay. I mean, it's a Zelda clone that copies it right, so that's really all you can ask for from these Nintendo ripoffs.
Why play Donkey Kong when you could play Donkey Kong, Donkey Kong 5 and the Panda Prince? For how many Donkey Kong ripoffs there are out there, a surprising amount of them don't feature the ape whatsoever. Take Donkey Kong for example. Yes, that Donkey Kong with an M. Now, what game could this possibly be a bootleg of? If you guessed Tiny Toon Adventures, you are right. This is an unlicensed hack of Tiny Toon Adventures, but replaced the main characters of the show with monkeys instead, with one of them being Donkey Kong, obviously. The next bootleg, Donkey Kong 5, The Journey Over Space and Time, is not the 5th entry in the Donkey Kong series, unfortunately, but rather the first 5 worlds of the original Super Mario Bros, featuring Donkey Kong as the main character, with music and sound effects ripped straight from Pokemon Pinball. The last ripoff, The Panda Prince, is an actual Donkey Kong bootleg and is the only one to not feature his name in the title. The game is a straight up pirated copy of the original Donkey Kong Country, but where you play as a panda instead. There are a few differences here and there, but it is by large the same game. The Panda Prince has got its own hack as well, in the form of Super Lion King 2, which replaces the panda with Simba. The rabbit hole just gets deeper and deeper, so we'll just stop here and never look back. Why play Super Smash Bros. When you can play PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale? I liked PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale back in the day, but I gotta be honest, despite the things they tried to do differently, it didn't matter, it was still viewed as a rip-off. If you're at all a fan of Smash Bros, chances are you have heard of PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale, the infamous Sony Smash Bros clone. Now, Nintendo didn't create the fighting game genre. Other companies have had their hand at creating Smash Bros-like games. But Battle Royale is notable in that it copies exactly what Smash Bros set out to do. Create a fighting game of the most iconic video game characters of all time, but this time with PlayStation characters. Now, when one thinks of iconic PlayStation characters, you think of Crash Bandicoot, Spyro, or Snake, right? But none of them are in there. Instead, we get characters like Fat Acceptance Princess, the guy from Dead Space, and that emo from the shit Devil May Cry reboot. Granted, some classics are in there like Parappa the Rapper, Sly Cooper, Jak and Daxter, and so much more, but it doesn't make the roster feel whole. Do you know what I mean? Now, to give credit where credit is due, Battle Royale doesn't completely rip off Smash Bros, as I said earlier, and includes some original ideas of their own. Now, whether or not there are good inclusions is up to the player. Instead of knocking your opponent out of the arena to KO them, you must build up AP by damaging opponents to eventually start a super move, which can lead to a one-hit KO. However, this leads to long matches that are largely uneventful, given how easy it can be to lose AP, and the massive disadvantages some characters have over others. Some characters even have moves that can steal AP, making the character roster feel largely unbalanced. It's sad to say that Nintendo made a better PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale than Sony did, given that Snake, Cloud, and Joker are all in Smash Bros. When another company makes a better fighter with your most recognizable characters in it, and you fail massively at supply and demand, you know you've messed up.
Why buy Nintendo Labo when you can buy Arcade Bracket? Someone ripped off cardboard. Despite how new it is, Nintendo Labo already has the honor of being ripped off. Releasing back in April of 2018, the Labo is a construction and gaming hybrid where players can construct real-life cardboard structures to interact with the games that come packaged along with it. Given the fact that it's literally just cardboard, it's incredibly easy to make bootleg versions. You could make your own actually. Nintendo says it's alright, but don't do what Arcade Bracket did. They tried to sell it for money. Arcade Bracket is a simple cardboard stand for the Nintendo Switch that attempts to trick the buyer into thinking it's a part of the official Labo lineup. The packaging, presentation, logo, and of course the use of cardboard are incredibly similar to that of Labo. The store page lists it as Nintendo Switch Labo, and their promo video, and I shit you not, is using the same damn music from the official Labo promo videos. The similarities to Labo, however, stop right there, as there's no real innovation or features that are emulated. It's literally just a cardboard stand in which you put your Switch on. That said, despite its similarities, it can still be purchased on Amazon Japan as of this video. Who knows if they're ever going to be called out for it.
Why play the Nintendo Wii at all when you can play any one of these knockoffs? Once upon a time in mid-2008, you were wandering aimlessly around your local Walgreens while your parents were shopping. At the end of a far-off aisle, you see something marvelous. It can't be. They don't sell video games at Walgreens. Or do they? No, they don't. What you're looking at is a shitty Wii knockoff console, and your day is now worse for seeing it. These things were everywhere during the height of the Wii craze, and seemed to infest any store aisle you would normally see plug-and-play TV consoles in. It came in many varieties and had many different names: the Reactor, the Zone, Wii, MiiWii Extra, Chintendo V, and so on. But their differences are far and few between, as they all do pretty much the same exact thing: failed tremendously at copying the Wii and having shitty sports games built into the system. The reason why these games were in the plug-and-play section of stores was because that's exactly what they were. Just cheap little boxes with 7 or so terrible games on it. Almost all the games were sports themed in an attempt to cash in on the Wii Sports success, and they had just terrible graphics, more akin to something you'd see on the Super Nintendo. And even then, the games would look like ugly Super Nintendo games. Hilariously enough, many of these Wii knockoffs had the gall to charge over $40 for their console. I mean, they'd be lucky to sell for more than $10 nowadays. Perhaps the laziest Wii knockoff is the WLL, which simply copies the Wii Remote aesthetic, but is actually just a tiny LCD game player, similar to Game & Watch or Tiger Electronics. Kinda makes you wonder how many innocent grandparents ended up buying this for their grandchildren. Oh well.